Hey there, in today's video I am just doing a kind of a fairly quick demo using a very muted color palette to make some very basic shapes. And then my full intention was afterwards just to show you kind of a bold shape or on top of this muted background. But I kind of got sidetracked because when I was doing this in real life for myself, I started using collage. And so I do show you kind of my thought process behind using the collage in these other two examples, even though I don't show you the whole process. But then ultimately I come back to the original piece in the art journal and show you the bold shape. And I will say it's kind of interesting because I feel like I've been doing things on camera for quite a while now, but it never continues to amaze me how I become paralyzed when I'm like, they're watching, I'm gonna make a mistake. And it's a problem because mistakes are part of the process. And if you don't just start somewhere and just keep going, then you have to push past that. And ultimately I do, right? And I'm on camera, so I could edit it, I could delete the whole thing, whatever. I guess my point is, I just want you to know, like, we all feel it. We all feel like, I don't want to take that next step because what if I ruin it? I don't want to take that next step because what if I make a mistake? I don't want to take that next step because I have this vision in my mind and maybe it won't turn out like that way. So I think those things are true for all of us. So I think if you can learn to kind of sit with that and then push through it, I think your art ultimately will be stronger in the long run. And I think as I show you in this example, I actually paint over the mark that I made on top of the muted colors multiple times, and probably if I wasn't on camera I might have even kept going, like did another coat. So I think don't be afraid don't be afraid. That's what I want to say today. It's like, right, for all of us, I'm speaking to myself as well. So just make art, have fun, just don't be so worried about the outcome. And today I got kind of caught up in that, and that stopped me. And of course, that can stop all of us at different points. And whenever we get too attached to what we're doing, that also can be a problem, because then we're timid and we don't want to push through whatever that barrier is or risk ruining it. So I think we got to risk ruining our art in order to make better art. So that's my tip for the day. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. To get started, I'm just working in art journal today, kind of on 2 pages. And the idea behind this is to kind of keep it a very neutral palette. So there's a couple ways you can do it, because I want to block in some shapes. And primarily I'm doing this in squares or rectangles or something like that. So here's a couple ideas. You could just, use pencil, a woody, not woody, this is the small size. So there is woodies, and my woody is right here. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea either. The Stabilo all, or the woody, they make a darker, bolder. I'll just kind of do one with the woody. And then here would be the Stabilo. If we were to, I guess that's a shape already. If we were to make a shape like that, so very similar. You could use charcoal. I guess I'm using all of the things today. And let's actually go this way. I wasn't planning to just show you all of these to demo. Or you could use this Lyra graphite, which I really like these because they're chunky and they come in water soluble or non-water soluble. So, okay, we have a kind of a line here. We have a line here. This is not an exact science. Obviously, let's do one here and maybe one there. Anyway, as I'm painting, I can make the marks look, I can change these shapes up. I don't want it to be fussy, but I don't want it to be, and I don't need it to be exact. It's more about just getting some paint down, because then we're going to put something over the top. So I think what I have here is, and I picked really neutral colors: raw sienna, neutral gray, burnt umber, and Payne's gray. And I'm not going to use them straight out of the tube. I'm going to start, and I'm going to mix them, but I'm also going to add some white. So, and the way I'm going to do that is, let's see if that's not really on camera. Let's push this over just slightly. So let's say I want to start with the raw sienna. What I would do is grab a little bit of that, maybe some gray to dull it down a little bit with the white. Kind of makes, you might not like it, but I think it makes this very kind of cool neutral color. Maybe I want it to be a little bit more yellow, but maybe I want a hint of this burnt umber in there. Anyway, I'm kind of maybe going a little too extreme here in terms of the mixing. So I'm trying to keep it fairly light and fairly neutral. So let's just pick a square. Let's just do this one right here. And the idea is that you're going to put something on top of it that is going to have some contrast. Although I do think the colors that you put down, it's good if they have a little bit of contrast as well. So let's say for the next one, and I'm not really gonna, I did grab this bigger brush, but I think I'm gonna primarily use this small 1/2 inch brush. And I like the fact that I still have paint on it and it's gonna mix in. I'm not looking for, in fact, maybe I'll just mix it into this color that we have right here. So I kind of like that. I'm gonna add a little bit of this burnt umber. Keep trying to think, what color did I have here? Now that got too dark, so now I'm gonna come over here and mix this up, grab a little bit of white. You guys know my contaminated white. And until I find a color that I wanna use. So it became a little too gray, and I'm kind of twirling this to get the paint off. Do I wanna add a little more blue in? So you see what I'm saying with color mixing? Just mix it till you like it. And sometimes you'll be like, oh, I never really got to a point where I liked it. Now here it is. I literally mixed up a gray, even though I pulled a gray out. I was thinking it would be a little bit more blue. And it's a little bit maybe darker than I think wanting, but that's okay. We're just gonna see. Okay, so I started with each of those. Now I'm gonna start with the brown, the burnt umber. And where should I mix it? Right here. I'm gonna add some gray to it. And let's just see what color we end up with. It's kind of a chocolate. Let's add a little white. My white has other colors in it. So, you know, just maybe I'm going to add a dash of blue, which is what that Payne's gray is. It's really just a dark blue. Maybe it's a little too brown, but let's just do it. Here's the other thing. This is yours. You get to continue to paint over it until you like it. I'm going to add a little bit of white in it, lighten it up a little bit. So if you don't like it, you just kind of keep going over it. At least that's what I do. And I have found the more I go over something, the richer and the more depth that there is to it, I feel like it's a little bit more interesting. But for today, it's really just about getting this background down, because then we're gonna go over it. Okay, this time I'm going to start, which color haven't I started with? The gray. So there's all kinds of colors over here already mixed together. I'm gonna see what we can come up with. Maybe it's a little different than what we already have. Okay, I'm gonna add a hair of the raw sienna in there. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's put that color, let's put that up here. And it's very similar to that color, so it's okay. And I'm not being precise with the lines. I'm not being precise with my paint. This is not really that. It's just kind of getting some blocks of color down. Okay, now let's circle back to this raw sienna. I'm gonna add some blue to it and see what we can get. And a little bit of white. A little bit more. Because I want them all slightly different, but by adding in a little bit of dab of some of the different colors, they all should be fairly cohesive. I'm a little nervous about this big one right here in the middle. Was that a mistake? Was that too big? It's okay, or I could divide it right there and have this piece as part of that. No, let's just, wow, I'm really overthinking it. Like, this is really just squares of paint, doesn't matter. And I will go over them again. So it's like this is supposed to be some kind of masterpiece, right? Or I forget that it's just paint and I can just keep adding to it however I want. I'm gonna add some white over the top because it's getting a little too dark. I want neutral, but I don't want it to be too dark because I want to go over the top. Now here's what I'm going to do. Now I'm wanting to show you this part of it because I'm going to show you what the plan was to paint over the top of this. But when I started figuring out an example, or when I was doing this in, I guess, real life is what I want to say, not on camera, I realized I thought what I wanted to do was paint over it, but what I ended up doing was using collage. So that is actually what we're going to do, and I want to show you that. So it's, you know, just another way to use up
that collage. So I'm just going to randomly mix here. You can kind of see what I'm doing. Because I feel like well, here's what I was trying to do. I was putting the collage down thinking, okay, I'm going to put the collage down as an example. That'll help me figure out what I want to do. Well, the minute I put the collage down, I was like, oh my gosh, I really like this. So it changed it changed exactly what it changed it from one thing to something else. And that's often what happens. And that's called just going with the flow and making the art and not having a preconceived idea ahead of time, which is hard sometimes because we want to know the end result, and sometimes that can hold us back from doing, the work that we really should be doing, or the art that we really should be making. So I'm going to add a lighter blue one up here. This paintbrush is getting a little grungy, but I like it because it has all the colors on it. And you can see I'm not really paying attention to the edges in terms of if the paint goes over or not. And in fact, if I was being truly to myself, I would take my catalyst wedge and scrape through it. And I still might, but I want to get all the colors filled in first. Let's do kind of none of them really ended up being that was the only one that was very yellow or very brown. Let's see, let's do a brown one right here in the corner of my paint. I don't know, maybe because the pure brown isn't turning out to be a color that I really like, but that's okay. Okay, so here we go, last one. So this was just for an example in terms of just doing it quickly. So what I could do is, let's just say, like I said before, I'm gonna show you, like if I really wanted to, I could go over it with my catalyst wedge, which is something I like doing because the paint will, where it's wet, this is drying pretty fast, but even though I'm using heavy body paint, it makes some interesting, I always like using a catalyst wedge or a credit card or whatever you have on hand to scrape the paint, because it does things that are unexpected, and it pulls the paint in ways it would be difficult to paint like that. So here's what I'm looking at this thinking. I think I like all the colors. I think these two colors are bugging me a little bit, so probably what I need to do is lighten them. Maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just put a lighter shade over the top, and then maybe I'll try to make it a little bit, mix a little bit more of this yellow. Even raw sienna isn't, perfectly yellow, but there we go. Just to make it a little bit different. So contrast slightly, but not extremely. And then we can still see some of that color underneath. And if I wanted to, I could do some of this, just to make it, and you can see a little bit underneath. Okay, so I like that better. Let's see up in this corner, my light is there's some glare, so I'm not hoping you can see that. What colors do I want to use? A lighter gray, maybe? Maybe let's do a lighter gray. Let's grab a bunch of white and get that gray in there. So, like I said, you could keep painting over these and over these and over these until you got to some colors that you really liked. This might not have changed it too much, but just a little bit. And I think that's all it needed. And let's use our catalyst wedge to kind of move it around. Maybe we'll add some down around here. Okay, so that is it for step one. Just mix some fairly muted colors. I feel like this is a fairly muted palette. And then we're gonna work on top of it. I'm gonna show you the next steps. While this is drying, I wanted to show you the other project that I was working on, the other example, which was this, which I had painted in very muted colors, and I had planned to paint in a darker color over the top, and then started messing around with collage and found that I liked just using these collage pieces, and that's what I'm going to show you. So essentially, this is just a very muted palette. I was going to do some bold marks over the top, and then when I got down to it and was messing around with my collage papers, I realized I liked the collage papers, and I was done messing around. So I just want to kind of show you what you can do with your muted background. So I am going to just take Yes Paste and glue these in. You could use matte medium or whatever you have that as a glue. So then I'm just going to glue these in here instead of painting over the top. It would have been very difficult to get this kind of exact what do I want to say, look or whatever. Painting, I couldn't have. And these random marks and these weird things, it would have been very difficult. So what I want to say is, if you have a very muted page, definitely, obviously, painting something bold over the top is a super great idea. But you also, if you're looking to kind of mix it up, you can use, or for examples, which is what I was trying to do, is like, oh, would I want to put something here or there? And then I started digging through my box of collage pieces. Now this is different. These collage pieces are different. They are primarily like cutout pieces and things, smaller pieces like this that I've used, or black. And this is exactly initially what I started with, was do I want to add some black in here on top of it? Because I was thinking, let's go really bold. And then once I started messing around, I realized I really just like this more of a neutral palette, keeping it very simple. And so anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you there's more than one way. And you start with one idea and you maybe end with another one. So I'm going to set this one aside and show you the other example. This is actually the page that started the whole thing. So I painted these colors, and this is a little bit, you know, there's a darker color. This is a little darker than my really muted palette that I just showed you. But you can see there's all different ways you can do it. And the paint kind of looks like it's a little bit mixed up and a little messy. It looks like I made some marks into it, which is kind of the way I like to work. But this, again, was like, okay, I'm going to put something really bold over the top. And then when I laid out my collage pieces, I realized, oh my gosh, this is all it needs. It just needs these few simple things. The eye is drawn around, and I am going to glue these in as well. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do. So again, when you start with one idea, do let yourself make changes, and try not to stick to that one idea. I mean, obviously, go for it. You do it. But then maybe try it again like I'm doing, like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to paint over the top, but now really I'm going to use collage. So anyway, we'll go back to the piece that I just finished with you, and we will actually do something bold over the top. I've been staring blankly at this. Of course, I don't know what it is. When I turn this on, it makes me nervous sometimes, because it's like, oh, what if it doesn't turn out? Yes, exactly. What if it doesn't turn out? So I know if I'm thinking that, you are also thinking that, right? You're thinking, what if what I'm making doesn't turn out? I think what we have to remember is that no matter what we're doing, it's all a process, and not everything is going to turn out. Not everything is going to have the exact outcome we want. But if we don't ever do this part, then we won't know what the next thing is. So here's what I want to tell you is, if I paint some bold shape on top and I don't like it, the great thing is I can paint over it, or I can turn the page and just say, okay, I have some samples there, testing out something there. I can just turn the page and go to the next thing. It's all part of the process. Maybe I'll do it one way, and then the next time I do it another way. So I just want to encourage you that I am no different than you. I'm looking at this thinking, oh, what the heck? What am I supposed to do? I've gone back and forth. Do I do black, which is extremely bold, or do I do kind of a white or creamier color, which I think I'm going to do in this case? So I'm going to grab a big chunk of white paint with this brush, and I'm going to move this little brush away, and I'm going to mix it in with this kind of lighter taupey color over here. Let's see, I think you guys can see this. Just to kind of, that probably wasn't the smartest move, because I sprayed some water on this paint while I was showing you those other things, so my paint wouldn't dry out. But I do not want a stark white, so I want it to have a little bit of underlying color to kind of go with this muted palette we have going on. I feel like my initial idea was to use black, but I really felt like it would just be too glaring and it would just be too much. And so I want this piece to be very subtle and to be just less like, oh, look at this background, look at this, foreground. They're two extremely different things. I kind of want it to go together. Now, also, just all of a sudden occurred to me that maybe even a bigger brush would have been better. Now, this is going to make a nice mark. I'm thinking I'm just going to kind of do a squirrel kind of thing. Who knows? But a bigger brush might have even been, I could switch right now, but I think I'm just going to stick with what I have. So yeah, I'm trying to talk myself into doing this, right? It's like I'm just going to keep mixing this color over here, and then I'm delaying what I need to do. So it doesn't matter. I'll paint over if I don't like it. and you guys are you're just seeing the process of what's happened. So, okay, I'm gonna go for it. I gotta get myself loosened up here because I'm anxious. Okay, and it's just paint. It doesn't matter. It's just an art journal. It doesn't matter. Turn the page. Okay, so I think what I'll do, where do I want to start? Okay, I'm gonna start here, I think. Okay. Wow. I wish I had done that one a little bit, and I guess I can go back in, can't I? I can go back in. I could do that. And I kind of wanted this to be, I was just kind of going for it, but I kind of wanted this to be a little bit more like that. I wasn't thinking I would go straight off the page like that, but again, it's okay. I think it's fine. Do I want to kind of fix this one a little bit? I kind of wanted this to be like a little thing through the middle, but maybe this is just a small, kind of like that. I don't know if that made it worse, but yeah, okay. Because I kind of didn't like this part. All right, so again, I think even a slightly bigger brush might have been, I can use more of my brush there and use it as a bigger part. I do have a little bit of that, maybe that color that I can kind of maybe make a little bit in the middle, make that middle part a little bit bigger, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna mess with it because it doesn't matter. I'm actually happy with how this turned out. I'm happy with the look of it. I was a little nervous, obviously, doing this on camera and feeling like, oh my gosh, you know, it's so much easier with collage because you can place it down and you can do that. But the problem is the minute you start getting, feeling like, oh, it's precious or I can't mess it up, that's the minute, that's not good. You don't want to be there because then, of course, you are tight. You're not going to do it the exact way you like it, and it's going to turn into something else. But what I'm going to do actually is mess it up a little bit with my catalyst wedge because it does seem a little perfect. The other thing that I could do, and I often do, is once I go over something once with one color, I do it again with another color, and I might do that. First, I'm going to mess it up. Then I'm going to turn the camera off and decide, and then I'll come back and let you know what I decide. But first, let's mess it up a little bit. Okay, then I'm gonna come right back. Okay, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna use this other color. I just been kind of going over here thinking, should we do it? We should do it. Again, in real life, I go over and over stuff and I like it better and better. This is great, but I think I got a lot of paint on this brush. It holds a lot. Just kind of do that. I always like adding more colors. And sometimes when I have a design or a pattern like this, I will go over it like multiple times, more than just two. But let's go over it a second time, see what we think. And if we want to go over it a third time, we can. That's just the beauty of this kind of art. Okay, see? What do you guys think? I think we're gonna do it one more time. I'm gonna let this dry for a second and then we'll do one more coat. Okay, I decided, I mixed the burnt umber and the Payne's Gray together, and I think I'm gonna go over it one more time, and I think I'm gonna be really happy. See, again, this is not what I expected to do, but this is exactly how the process it plays out. It's like you do something, you like it okay, you do something else, you like it better, and then you remember, oh my gosh, I like it when I have multiple layers. So this paint isn't quite dry, but I'm going to go over it a little bit, just kind of messing it up, which is something I like doing. This is actually pretty wet, so I may have to, oh, and I like kind of how it's getting around. That's what I like. I don't like it to look exactly perfect. Okay, so I think it's kind of wet. Let's wait, I'm gonna wait another second, okay? It's fairly dry, pretty much dry. And this paintbrush is really disturbingly full of paint, and I'm just gonna go for it. So I think it's turning out better and better each layer. So I'm just showing you, this is the real me. This is a real process. This is how I do things. And so we're not gonna pretend, we're just gonna go for it. So here we are with the next one. This color is, I think I already mentioned this, Payne's Gray, burnt umber mixed, and probably this will be the last coat, unless for some reason it's like I put it on and I really don't like it. But typically I do like 3 coats because it's super cool the way it turns out. So, and the nice thing is once you put the first thing down, you don't go over it exactly, but you've got a kind of a way a pattern, a path. It kind of already is showing you how to do it. So it makes it so much easier as you go along. Okay, here we go. Now that might have been a little bit crazy, but I think it's okay. Okay, so there you have it. That maybe, I don't know, it might be too bold, but when I look at it without looking through the camera up here, it looks fine. But looking through the camera, it looks really bold. But, so as you can see, you can stop at any one of those. You could stop with the creamy white. You could stop with the, raw sienna layer, or you could keep going and do this. So you get to choose now that you've seen all these different layers. And this could be a little lighter, and I could go over it one more time if I decide that it's a little bit too dark. But the idea initially, my initial idea was to do something even bolder than this. So anyway, I hope this kind of spurs you on to like, okay, I'm gonna start with a really neutral background, and then I'm gonna do something very bold over the top. And of course, it doesn't have to be some kind of crazy swirls. It could be whatever pattern or shape that you really like. You could, embrace that, or you could actually even draw something representational over the top, why am I blanking? Like some flowers, or a teacup, or a pot, or a whatever bowl. There's all kinds of things, but I think these kind of backgrounds can be really instrumental in spurring us on, because obviously it's very neutral if you like that kind of thing, and then it just can open up the different possibilities. So anyway, I hope that you give this a try and that you layer up your marks afterwards. And don't be afraid, okay? Don't be afraid like I was. I mean, fear just holds us back from so much. And if we're super worried about the outcome, we'll never practice. And we just have to be bold in the choices we make. And remember, it's just paint, it's just paper. And you can close the page, or turn the page, or paint over it. So anyway, thanks you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.